Hey everybody, it's Christy. I'm back. It's Wednesday. I said I'd be back on Wednesday if you happen to view the Monday video. And I forgot an exercise in the Monday video. I talked about it, but I never did it. So I'm going to include it in today. So let's dive in so I can make this one a little more concise. But just to review, here we are. It's the last day of June. We're heading into the second part of the year. Tomorrow it's midweek. It's awesome. It's been a really restorative week for us here at the studio. Our clients are loving sort of a gentler touch, more stretching, less, power and conditioning, and just being a little bit easier on our body while still getting some super effective workouts in. Because again, we don't have to be going 100% and going super heavy and powerful all the time to get benefits. Quite the opposite. We can slow things down, we can feel things more in our body, clean up our technique a little bit more, and feel even more benefits. So today we are going to talk about a hip hinge movement pattern, which we use specifically in the deadlift. I'm not going to get too much into the actual deadlift, but just do a little reminder on the hip hinge movement pattern itself. And then if you deadlift, you can practice that on your own. We are going to talk about bicep curls, which is probably technically one of the easiest exercises to do, but the one I see most often where it gets really sloppy. So we're going to talk about that. And then we are going to talk a little bit about lunging and sort of setup and process of that. Because again, the whole purpose of this series is to just refresh and restore and maybe clean up what we're doing in order to get more benefit with actually less effort. I love the concept of work smart, not hard. Trust me, I love working hard, but in the idea of just being more mindful about how we do everything, particularly in a strength training routine. Are we stabilizing our body really well and effectively, in that we can do either less reps or less weight and get just as much from it? So that is my working smart versus working hard concept when it applies to some sort of fitness routine, whether it's strength training with the weights, whether it's moving well and strengthening on the TRX, and whatnot. It's not working smart and not hard does not mean being lazy and doing less. It's just being much more intentional about how you go about it, and actually helps you reclaim more time and self-preservation. So let's go into the push-up first, since that was supposed to be part of Monday. And as I like to say, the push-up is never going out of style. So you might as well just practice, get really good at it. Perfect practice makes perfect, because if you are always practicing it in a manner that you're not doing it well, it's really going to be hard to break those bad habits. So let's go over that a little bit. I'm just going to lower my camera a little. So I'm going to just do the floor variation because that's typically where we're working from. But what you need to know is if you're just getting started, you can take the floor variation, bring yourself up, and do the same technique against a kitchen counter or even against a wall, depending on where you're at. And you don't need to feel bad about that, because the form is actually going to be better. Because here's what happens when we start push-ups on the floor, on the knees, is people have a hard time getting the concept of getting your butt down, and you don't want to do push-ups on your knees with your butt up. You're not going to feel it in the right spot. And one of the things I love about the push-up is it's a full body exercise. We always think of it as a chest exercise, but there's so much good core work that goes into it. as long as you're doing it well. Just like the plank is a good exercise, only as much as your form is awesome. Okay, so let's go over the full push-up first, then we'll talk about doing push-ups on your knees, because frankly, if your core is weak, especially those deeper stabilizer muscles, doing a lot of reps of the push-up on your toes is really going to be impossible. And what I mean is doing a lot of good quality reps, okay? So push-up on your toes, done from a high plank position. So back is straight, shoulders away from the ears. General push-up is with your hands just wider than shoulder width. Okay, so you want to be able to connect into your deep core muscles, those transverse abs, tucking the tail, getting yourself into a nice, stable, neutral position around the pelvis where you're not just being able to just bob the hips up and down, okay? Because push-ups, we're moving from the upper body. And oftentimes what I see is this, okay? That just is very, very uncomfortable. You don't want to do that. And as soon as you start to drop those hips down and create some extension in your lower back, you need to stop doing the push-up or move to your knees, okay? So from here, we're back up. We're nice and strong and stable, right around the hips, in the core, and then it's down, it's up. Notice how the whole body moves together. And there's no sagging of the hips there. You just keep squeezing, drawing in, and keeping the glutes tight. You don't need to get your nose to the ground, but you do want to get a full range of motion. And as soon as you're unable to get that full range of motion and you're really only at like a quarter range of motion, go to your knees. Build up that range of motion, get the strength, and then you're back up on your toes. So it's totally fine to kind of do these hybrid sets of some on your toes, some on your knees, so you get really proficient at both. All right, so if you're doing push-ups on your knees, let me just transition. You're here. To do it on your knees, just drop your knees. Notice that my butt does not come up into the air for everybody to see, because nobody wants to see that. You just drop the knees down. The body is still nice and level, a little bit of an incline, but still, I'm not sticking my butt out for everybody to see. Core is still braced, and then I'm down, I'm up. At this point, I could literally do nose to mat, but it's not necessary. But you really want to work on that range of motion. This is not a full push-up. Don't get comfortable doing it here. You're not getting all the activation that you can and all the strength that you can. Down and up. All right? There's the push-up. Do it well. Learn to love it. Practice, practice, practice. You need nothing but your body to do it. It's a full body workout in itself, okay? So next, I'm gonna adjust my camera back up. We're gonna talk about bicep curls because I just warmed them up doing those push-ups. So bicep curls, again, technically fairly easy. We require some good stability in the back and picking the right weight to be able to get full extension of the arms. So let's talk about just straight, strong position. So feet down on the floor, spreading them out the way I talked about on Monday, drawing the abs up and in so you're nice and steady here, shoulders up, back, you know, and slightly down. It doesn't need to be tight, but you need to be able to keep the back stable so your shoulder blades are not trying to creep up and out of your back. From there, my arms are at full extension. They curl up to the shoulders. The only thing that's moving is the arms. The elbow generally stays under the shoulder. You're not pulling it back here and doing curls from here. And you're not pulling your arms in and stabilizing on your body. You're just not gonna get as much from that. So those are just a few of my bicep curl pet peeves, as you can tell from my voice. So you're here, Nice steady pace, up and down. We can change the tempo, but basic bicep position is a nice, sturdy everything so you can move those arms. So what happens as people get too tired, or if they're trying to lift too much weight, is we get the elbows back, or we get the range of motion stops here, or we get people throwing things around, rounding their back up, all of that nasty swinging, okay? So stand straight and strong like a board. Allow your arms to move, get that full pop in the biceps. This is my least favorite thing to do, but it's a widely used muscle, so it might as well be strong so we can lift, push, and pull things in our daily life. All right, so next is going to be the lunges, and then we'll do a quick look at the hip hinge. So lunging is a pattern we use, especially when we're walking up stairs. As we age and our knees get cranky, you know, they get a little bit more difficult to do. So we have ways to work around that. For today's video, we're really just gonna go through the forward and the reverse lunge to talk about that movement and that use of the muscles and maximizing that, okay? So I'm gonna do this with weights because that's accurate. You'll see that I'm in bare feet because that comes up a lot for people who are working out at home. Obviously, if you're going to the big gym, you're not working out in bare feet. They won't let you, nor would you want to walk around a big gym in bare feet. But at home, if your feet are healthy and it's otherwise safe for you to do so, then by all means, just do it. Frankly, if I'm going to be doing a lot of lunges especially, I'm going to put good sturdy sneakers on. That's frankly what I would recommend. So choose wisely for yourself. But if you do have feet issues, whether it's plantar fasciitis, like flat feet, whatever, like put your sneakers on and work out with your good solid footwear. For today though, I'm going to do a little demonstration. I'm going to do it barefoot, and I know I'm going to do it well, so it's totally going to be fine. So we're going to do a rebound forward lunge, which just means we're going to stay on the same leg. And let's set it up strong because that's where this party started on Friday. You're going to stand feet hip distance down into the floor and then out. Try to spread the floor under your feet. Feel that tension increase right up to your core. Stand up straight with the upper back stable so the weights stay steady. And then we're going to step forward, weight towards the heel, down, press through the front foot, and step back. We're going to do it again. So we want the knees aligned towards midfoot, not into the midline. So we want to be sort of manually drawing the knee out. And then we can sort of try squeezing the inner thighs together as we do that. So we still feel that full tension from the foot right up through the core, as opposed to right now, I'm just kind of using momentum to do these lunges, which is not going to give me as much benefit in my lower body. Plus, it's going to put me more at risk for injury and tweaking of the knee. So let's go to the other side, same thing. So down, out, strong setup, mindful movement, front foot always flat, back foot, that heel is going to come up. And notice the step. It's not a huge one. You're not driving forward and back. You're driving down and up. All right? So there we go. So forward lunges tend to create more tension for people in their knees, depending on their knee condition for whatever reason, a whole host of reasons. So the reverse lunge is really an amazing option because, again, when we're sitting, the posterior chain, the backside of our body, is really not doing much. So the quads are picking up a lot of that, And so if we do the reverse chain or the reverse lunge, we can engage that posterior chain a little bit more. And people are less cranky in their knees when we do that. So the same rules apply with the reverse lunge as with the regular lunge, but we're just stepping back, down, and in. So good tension, nice and steady on the leg. That is stabilizing. And then switch other way. If we want to get a little balance or stability practice, we can drive the knee up and through. Bada bing, bada boom. Good lunging. Again, it's a part of life. If you're walking, you're lunging. So it's good to be able to do it well to the best of your abilities, whether it's with weights or just using your body weight, because that is a very acceptable form of working out, is just moving your body weight, especially when you're just getting started. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about a hip hinge, which is what we do in some way, shape, or form when we bend over to pick something up, okay? Hips are always super important, and so depending on how much movement you have through here, like how tight things are in different parts of your body, you might be able to do this really well, and you might really need some practice, some flexibility, and other strengthening. So from the context of moving well and just being able to do that in a way that you can bend over safely and pick something up off the floor, or in the context of doing a deadlift, let's talk about the hip hinge. So what I do with all of our new clients in our movement screen is a hip hinging pattern to see how they can do it. And the way that I do that is I take one of these handy dandy dowels, sticks, thing. We bring it behind us. We line it up and down the spine. My hand on top is facing in. The hand on the bottom is facing in, just kind of holding it there. It's right down at the center of the backside of my body. Feet hip distance apart. And the goal here is to hinge at the hips with my abs braced in a fashion that stick does not lift off my back. So my knees are soft, not locked. My eyes are forward because we're keeping contact with that stick everywhere. Down and up. Eyes forward because the floor is not going anywhere, so I don't need to be looking down at my toes. We're going to keep a nice alignment with the eyes going forward, and the back is going to stay straighter. So if we want to look down at our toes, if we just cannot maintain that like sort of push back position of the hips, like this is a really appropriate time to push your butt back for everybody behind you to see, okay? If we are too bashful and we don't want to do that, this is what happens. There's very little contact between my back and the stick. Okay, so that's, you know, if we have somebody starting with that, we are going to clean that up pretty quickly with some other exercises and just some good, you know, strengthening work. We're not going to be diving in to hip hinging dominant type exercises that are going to compromise and put people at risk for injuring themselves to that end. Okay, so the other way that we would teach or remind people about good hip hinging positioning is when we use the kettlebell. So the appropriate way, and this gets to the picking up of something off the floor, and not that you're going to do this at your house when you go to pick up something heavy, but it's definitely a mindset you should have. We tell people to karate chop their hips. So just find those hip bones, bring your hands out, thumbs out, and just boom. Karate chop the hips, soft knees, and then just kind of reach over, fold over, but notice the back is straight. Then we're going to reach down for that heavy object, bend the legs, and when it comes to the kettlebell, We're gonna try to bend the handle, which is gonna help set the back into place. Ground the feet, squeeze the abs, and then we're ready to go. So whether we're swinging, we're here, we're able to do that well, or whether we're lifting something heavy off the floor, say doing a deadlift. Bring it up, everything stays in line and straight. No bad pressure in the back. Notice my eyes go forward on the floor, my back stays straight, and release. That completes today's lesson of doing things well so you can work smarter, get more benefits instead of working harder for less benefits. I hope you enjoyed. We'll be back again soon.